You like Looney Tunes and you like sport games? Well, today we're going to be talking about a Looney Tunes game called Looney Tunes Wacky Roller Sports. Now, this actually was a game that I wanted to kind of review for a while, even after I did a bunch of different Game Mill games, which, honestly, for those who've actually followed this channel and actually seen most of my recent reviews, I am not the biggest fan of Game Mill as a company, as I've kind of stated before that they are actually the THQ of this decade, where they made a lot of bad and mediocre licensed games. But there actually has been some decent games, and this one is probably up there as one of the best ones. To be honest with you, for this game, I definitely would like to say it's probably one of their better games. And to be quite honest with you, even for a game like this, I was actually really surprised it actually was a pretty good game. Considering that I'm not really the biggest sport guy in general. I mean, I don't follow sports. I don't really play a lot of the sport games like NHL, NFL, or any of those kind of games. I'm not really the biggest fan of any of those kind of games. I think they're scale and kind of just repetitive, and they're all the same. So, to me, I'm not really the biggest fan of that. Minus the Mario Sport games. I will say that as an exception, that the Mario Sport games is probably the only sport games I've actually played and actually really enjoyed, since Nintendo really likes to make them a lot of fun. I don't know why that is, but for some reason, every time there's a new Mario Sport game, whether if it's golf, tennis, or pretty much anything, I really think that they actually do a really good job with them, and they just make them a lot of fun. Yet, even though I'm not the biggest sport guy, I still was actually pretty excited to play this game, considering that I actually do love the Looney Tunes. The Looney Tunes had an amazing amount of games back in the early 2000s, including Acme Arsenal, which I thought was a really good game, and Back in Action. Back in the day, that was a fun game to play on the PS2, and I had a lot of fun memories playing that game. So honestly, I'm just a big fan of the Looney Tunes, and since this was a sport game, I was actually pretty excited to play this game. Despite that it was a Game Mill game, which, to be honest with you, Game Mill, like I've said before, I'm not really the biggest fan of, and I know they have a big track record of mediocre games. I still was pretty excited to play it. And after trying the game out when the game was on sale, I gotta say, I really think this is one of the better games, and it was just a lot of fun to play. And since it's a review, I'm actually just gonna break down everything I thought about this game. This game consists of 4 different sports, ranging from basketball, golf, tennis, and soccer. These sports honestly are pretty self-explanatory in terms of controls, and pretty much how you play as each sport as you go along with them. The game also has challenges you can play as well in terms of all the sports, and you even go for the tournament mode, which the tournament mode is actually a lot of fun to play. You actually can unlock different areas and different objectives and different perks and different things that you can actually unlock. And even if you get the deluxe edition, you can also get characters that, especially like Yosemite Sam, and other additional content that comes with the deluxe edition. But if you get the regular edition, which is pretty much just the primary game, you pretty much can just do the tournament mode and just unlock things as you're playing that mode. There's also an online mode, which I haven't really played a lot of the online mode, but for some people, the online mode, a lot of people can actually have a lot of fun with. But in terms of how this game is, since it is a sport game, there's just a lot of fun to play in terms of how you play as all the sports. The game also consists of characters you get to play as from a wide range of different Looney Tunes characters, like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky, Lola, Elmer Fudd, Sylvester, Taz, Roadrunner, and Wile E. Coyote. Basically all the characters you get to play as you get the primary edition. But like I said, if you get the deluxe edition, you actually get Yosemite Sam as DLC. Honestly, a lot of the characters you get to play as, there's at least a good amount of characters you can play. The only thing I probably would say out of all the complaints I have with this game is perhaps maybe they could have added other characters, but at least with this, I think they had a fair amount of characters you get to play, especially for this kind of game. As for the 4 sports, which we'll actually touch upon each one, I think the first one we'll start with is basketball. Basketball is kind of self-explanatory, as most of the time it's pretty much a game where you play as just 2 characters in one team, and you pretty much just kind of go and basically like an average basketball game where you pretty much go put the ball into the basket, and you pretty much just get as many shots as possible in order to win the game. Now honestly, in terms of how the basketball game is, I think the basketball overall is pretty good. The only complaint I have with the basketball game is that I find that when you actually pass the ball, it doesn't exactly go directly to the player that you're supposed to pass it to on your team. For some reason, it could be just an AI issue, which this game consists of a lot of bad AI in this game, which I don't know why that is, but for some reason this game has really shitty AI. That's something I'm not a big fan of, and I've kind of noticed that when I was playing basketball. So honestly, that one I didn't really like it as much, and even when you're trying to shove the ball and trying to get the ball for your opponent, it doesn't exactly fall through, and it's not as directly as what you expect from it, obviously. But honestly, in terms of how the basketball game is, it still was a lot of fun, and I still found myself really enjoying the basketball element. Golf is essentially almost like Mario Golf and Hot Shots Golf, where you pretty much just kind of hit the ball in the right distance to hit it in the right yard, and also try to get at least a hole in one. To be quite honest with you, I find the golf one is a lot of fun, and I find it's actually one of the better ones about the sports in this game, mainly because it reminds me so much of Mario Golf and Hot Shots Golf and how much the gameplay is. I don't know, I just had a lot of fun playing the golf one better than the other one. Soccer is even a lot of fun, where each of the team you have consists of 3 players in each team, and all the players that pretty much have you pretty much go around and you kick the ball and hit at the goalie and get a shot. All of it's pretty good, and honestly, the way the kind of gameplay is kind of laid out with the soccer games, it's pretty much kind of a lot like Mario Strikers, where you basically can hit the ball with an ability, and as you kind of time it in the right shot, it's still a lot of fun to play. Last but not least is tennis. Now, pretty much tennis is just an average round of tennis, where you basically just kind of go against your opponent in a round of tennis, and it's actually pretty good to play. I actually think that it's actually a lot of fun, and I haven't really had a lot of issues with tennis, but considering that there's a lot of abilities that you get to have, and this game pretty much is kind of like most of the Mario sports games, where a lot of the characters kind of consist of different abilities they get to play and use as they charge up. Honestly, with tennis, it's no different, but with tennis, it was still a lot of fun. Overall, I think for most of the 4 sports games that's in this game, I gotta say it's pretty self-explanatory and they're quite enjoyable. The only thing, like I said before about what I said about the basketball game, to be honest with you, I think that the AI, in my opinion, is something that I'm not a big fan of. I don't know why, but for some reason this game has really shitty AI, and I really wish that was kind of fixed. But then again, this is from a company that likes to bring out a lot of rush games. It doesn't exactly surprise me, since obviously we've seen that a lot based on their track record. But even still, most of the sports in this game is still a lot of fun, and I still like them no matter what, even if it had really shitty AI. Even though I love all the 4 sports games that's included in this game, I still think that, and this is kind of just a minor nitpick, a small one, I do think that they could have added other sport games in this game besides the main 4. I kind of wish they could have added like hockey, baseball, other sports that you can actually put in this game that you can pretty much play with all the other Looney Tunes characters. To me, it just seems like it'd be more interesting and more broader, because especially if you're going to add like other sports and make it more a little bit appealing, I still wish they could have added other sports, but then again, that's just a small minor nitpick. Adding additional characters can also kind of keep the game also more appealing and also kind of make it more like it's more interesting for people to play. I don't know, even though I love all the characters that's in this game as well, and it's still a fair amount of characters you can play, I still think they could have added other Looney Tunes characters you get to play minus the ones that they have in here. Not to say I don't like them, I just think that they could have done a little bit more with just adding more characters, and even though they did that with Yosemite Sam by adding the DLC if you get the deluxe edition, but I still think they could have added other characters like Marvin the Martian, or even other characters that they could have added that actually are kind of in the audience. You could just added all the characters in there as well. But even then, that's something that they could actually do in the future if they wanted to keep this game alive and make it more, like perhaps maybe make a sequel or something like that. In which I also do think they should make more games like this where it's kind of something new and it's pretty much like something out of their own horizon, but instead of like actually making more like, you know, knockoff Nickelodeon games that are like based on like other properties like Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. At least here they're doing something a little bit different where, yeah, it's a lot like other sport games, like the Mario sports games, of course, but at least it's trying to do something new by trying to use a different IP instead of just using Nickelodeon and everything else. Not to say I don't like Nickelodeon, I just think that they could be using other IPs that kind of use the same style, like obviously like sports and everything. Use that, but make them a little more different. And since Looney Tunes hasn't really had a lot of games as of late, I think it's actually a right fit for them, considering especially back in the day they used to have sport games like the Space Jam PlayStation game. At least with them, they actually can go back to what it used to be, where Looney Tunes kind of fit in the sports era, so honestly, it just definitely fits with them. Yet, despite the nitpicks and complaints I have of this game, I have to say this game is probably one of the better sport games I've seen in a long time, and I really think that it's definitely one of the better games I've seen from GameMill. Which is saying something considering that GameMill, which I know has made a lot of bad games, especially from their biggest track record where they've made really shitty licensed games. And honestly, I think from seeing this kind of game, I really think that they have potential to make really good games, and we are seeing that with even this game, and Nicktoons Dice of Destiny. I really think that they have a lot of potential to make really good games. The problem is the tendency of trying to get the game rushed and not putting effort, and also not putting any money into the gameplay and graphics. Which, to be honest with you, even by looking at this game, the graphics look like it's actually like a pretty good game. It doesn't really exactly look like an early 2000s kind of game. It pretty much looks like I would see from like, you know, the PS3 or PS4 era. At least with this game, it's somewhat current. And again, at least with the game, it's still really good and the graphics don't look that bad. And I honestly hope that, hopefully with some of their other games, that they can actually do better with their graphics. Because based on what I've seen from their other games, I don't think they put any effort in their graphics, or pretty much just in any game in general, even though they have the IPs and they have the ability to make really, really good games. It's just a matter of whether or not they actually want to put the time in and put the money in and just perhaps just put in the effort in. because it's not that they don't have the ability to put all these IPs into different games. I just think that that's really much the lack of ability to just make them really enjoyable. And even though I've seen that with this game and with Nicktoons Dice of Destiny, where they try to tackle different genres and different ideas, and that's something they need to kind of just do and keep doing that, instead of just trying to bring out rushed licensed games that pretty much are just knockoffs of different IPs that pretty much are just already coexistent. And it's not to say that I don't directly hate Game Mill as a company. I just think that they have the ability to make really, really good games. It's just the lack of effort into what they can do by making their games, by rushing them and just not putting any effort in it whatsoever. But with that being said, I do think that this game is a lot of fun to play, and it's definitely a really good sport game. And I think I recommend anybody who's really into sport games, or perhaps really just like Looney Tunes and they just really want to play as the characters in a sport game, I think this game is a lot of fun. Or maybe perhaps you have a kid and they just like Looney Tunes and you just want to play with them. I think this is a great game for both parents and kids to play, because this game is really, really good. Anyway, guys, that's my review. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.